Hi, this is Dr. Jenny, and this is step 2 of actually creating the slicer that will drive multiple pivot charts. The first thing I want to explain is I'm using Excel 2013 Professional Plus. If you have Excel 2010, what you would be doing is before you convert this to a table, you would go ahead and put your weekday name and your month name over here in columns E and F, and then make your table, because then that means you have all the fields that you need. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually highlight my raw data field, what I want here, and I'm going to format as a table. And this is important because when you're doing a data model type thing, you want to make sure that you have the correct data. And I'm going to actually call this raw data so that I have a table. First of all, I can have a space. I have to say, I'll just call it data. There we go. So I have a raw data or just data file, and I have a calendar file, and you notice that's always already converted in there. So now if I go in here and I say, okay, I want to now insert a pivot table, notice in 2013 I have pivot table. I have down here I can click pivot chart and have pivot chart and pivot table. I have a thing called Power View, and here's my slicer and even my timeline. But I'm just going to do a normal, for now, I'm just going to do a normal pivot table. See, it's calling the table range data, going in a new worksheet. And so here I have just that data. But in 2013, you're going to have another option over here called More Tables. So I can click on More Tables, and it's actually, if you'll notice, it's going to create another sheet. And so when it does, this sheet here, I'm going to call this dashboard, because this is where I'm going to end up putting my dashboard. And you'll notice over here now that I have both calendar and data in here. And I just want to show you that in Power Pivot, when you go to data model, this is where you can pull in data from all kinds of things. You can, if you do, you can add to the data model here, and you can tell it some other things that you want to add. So there's all kinds of, you can detect relationships between the two. So for example, I can make a relationship between one and the other without any issue. So basically, you probably don't know as much about managing the data model yet, but all I did is that's the beauty of Excel 2013. You've got these two tables in here that you can draw information from. And so we definitely want to make sure that our date sold here, and I just put that in there and I didn't even realize I had it in the table over there. But you definitely want to draw a relationship on the calendar between the date sold and the date sold in the data table. You would think that would just be automatic, but that's something that you may want to check. Now, the first thing that you're going to realize when you have these two tables over here is we have not tied them together. We want them to have some type of connection, and I'll show you what happens if I bring down the month name and I bring down the let's say the ticket sold. It's over here on the right. You're going to immediately see that a relationship between tables needs to be created, and that's true because if you'll notice here, it's just this doesn't even make sense. It's showing our total sum of tickets sold, and it's saying 81 for each month. So I'm going to go over here and click Create. And so what we want to do is in the table called Calendar, the column that we want to make a connection to is Date Sold. In the related table Data, we want to, the related column is Date Sold. So I'm going to say OK. And what happens then is that creates a relationship. And I want you to notice that automatically now these April, February, January, March tickets sold here show that, so that we know that if I want to look at this, I can see that actually March is our best month, and that kind of makes sense since this is campus travel, that you would have that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to right now create a filter, or not a filter, but a slicer. I'm going to get that slicer. I'm going up here in the pivot table, and I'm going to go ahead and insert a slicer. And I want the slicer to be based on salesperson, because that's what I kind of want to go, you know, for each time. And I'm going to worry about the color in a minute, but I'm just going to do that. And I'm going to go take this, and I'm actually going to copy it down here. And when I copy it down here, I'm just going, I'm on this one. You can see I'm highlighted here. I'm just going to make this one. I'm going to get rid of month name and put that back up in my calendar. And what I want here is I want weekday name. So that's going to show me that in my weekday name, and I just want to bring this back over here so you can see what's happening. Basically, we can drive those tables just by picking this slicer, and essentially you can kind of do some of the same kinds of things with just the 2010, because you can copy and paste a pivot table just like what we did here, and then have the one slicer that drives it. Now I'm going to go ahead and copy this again and put it down here. And essentially then on this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust this one so that I don't have weekday name. I'm actually going to go into my data, and I'm going to put my destinations. And so if I just wanted a slicer that would drive all my data, I've got, you know, I've got this right here that's driving it. Now, what I want to do now, I want to unfilter that, is I'm going to go back up here, and I'm going to, in my Power Pivot table saying, you know, my selection, I'm going to actually make a chart. So I'm making a chart that is based, if you see this is the one that is based on the tickets sold in the certain months. I can make this bigger here so you can see it. I can also make it do a pie if I want to do that. You know, if I want some variation, you know, something like that, I can do that. So basically, I'm probably going to do column and just kind of keep them all the same. So here's a column one, and I'm going to say OK. Now, what I'm going to do is I am actually going to move this down out of the way of my actual pivot table things, because what I want to, I can actually put this on another you know, another sheet, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say, call this one ticket sales by month, and get rid of that little L, get rid of my total because it doesn't tell me anything, and I'm just, you know, going to have that laying here. You know, bear with me while we kind of go through this. Now I'm going to do another one. Here's on the, this is the by the day of the week. So I'm going to get in this one, and again I'm going to go up to my pivot table, pivot chart. I'm going to probably pick this one, say OK. So I have this one. I know this one is ticket sales on day of week or something like that. Going to get rid of this total. And again, I'm going to move this down. Let me get rid of get me a little space here so you can see what I'm doing. And maybe I can make those just a little smaller. I want to be able, that's one reason why I did only the 3-letter day of week. If I'd added another D there, I'd had the full day of the week, but we don't really need that to be able to know what day of the week. And you know, I'd really kind of like to make sure these are the same size at some point, because it makes it look better. Okay, so now I've got that. Now I'm going to go to this one, which is my you know, essentially my destination. Again, go to pivot table, pivot chart. Pick this one, say OK. This is going to be ticket sales by destination, and make sure I spelled that correctly. And I'm going to take this one down here. I'm going to get rid of this again. Take this down here. And maybe I want this one to be, you know, a little larger. So that you see that. I'm just trying to make this aesthetically pleasing. And that is not one of my strengths, but we'll kind of bear with me here. Now, what I want to do at this point is I want to put my slicer down here so it's easy to see. So I'm going to bring my slicer down here, and this does not need to be this big. It can just be, you know, a very small section. So I'm going to take this down here, and I have my slicer, and I could have it on the front or the back. I can also go like this, highlight everything there, and I can go back to the Home tab and use this to put a background color in. There's my black. I kind of like that, actually. So what I'm going to drive, and then I can hide all of these up here. Just do a little hiding. Maybe something like that, and hide those. So that when you go in this and you're looking at this, you know, I could actually hide it to the point where you don't see even the ABC across there, across the top. But basically now when I click on Andrew here, it's going to show the ticket sales by month for him, the day of the week he sold them, and then the destinations. I can do that with Lisa, and I can't remember who was our worst salesman, but I'll just kind of click through here so you can see. So you can actually get a snapshot of what's going on with one salesman or all of the salesmen at any point, and basically draw some analysis and conclusion from this. So hopefully this has helped you, especially for the 2013 users, and I'm going to do another video that shows how to do this if you only have 2010. So bear with me, and hopefully this helped.